Hello, everybody. I'm Rob Duanius. Welcome to SketchCraft Live. Joining me today is Brandon Let James. Brandon, say hello.
Hello.
Hey, Brandon, what is on my camera right now? Can you take a guess?
These are Copic markers.
Oh my God! Look at that right here, folks. Look at this shit. Right now, this is all my markers on the left. These are the refills. So we're going to focus right over here on this side. Let me just move this over here because this is the same shit. So people have been asking me, Brandon, for, I don't know, a couple days now. Rob, what markers do you use? And I said about a month back, right? I got it down to 64.
All of them. I'm just kidding.
All of them. So I got it to 64 markers. Now, you got to be wondering, folks. I'm sure you've seen artists that have, what, 400 markers?
Fucking 500 markers to 1,000 on their table.
Yeah, well, I cut all that down. I've been using Copics now for about 3 years, and I found that pretty much this is all I need to use to get the job done. Anything beyond that, I use color pencils. So I'm going to make a whole video on these color pencils, and it's going to take me 15 minutes to walk through these things so you can see them. But let's go right now, marker per marker, and call them out so you yourself can get these markers. Now, first off, Brandon, you now have pretty much all of these. You're still waiting on a couple more in the mail?
I got like, I'd say 65% of those, or maybe 70%, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on a good chunk of them, but yeah.
So right now there's this thing called a Copic shortage, if you don't know, folks. So if you're having trouble finding Copic markers, I would start at dickblick.com and then go to Otaku Fuel. Is it Otaku?
Yeah.
Otaku Fuel's another good one. You can get a few through Amazon.
Which is, yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to pay more there. So start with Otaku Fuel and dickblick.com, and that'll get you through most of the Copics that you need. Now, this bin is called an art bin. Art bin. I got it on Amazon. It's like 15 bucks. It holds 64 markers. Comes with a little tray built in. Right? The thing you should know about the bin is it slides and it gets in here, right? In these two spots. So in here it creates 4 slots that are not quite full marker slots. So these 4 slots, you really need to make certain 100% are Copic Chow markers. Because if you don't, if you put a regular marker in here, it's going to get stuck, and you're going to be yanking to pull the fucking thing out. So I have more than just a few chows, so you know there's no difference between a chow, Copic chow, CAIO, and a regular Copic sketch marker. This is Copic sketch. There's no difference, other than there's not as many colors available. Other than that, they have a chisel tip, and they have a super brush tip, so it's the same thing. So if you can get a chow and save yourself a few bucks per marker, do it. Okay, but you got to make certain that these 4 right here are in fact chows, or you're gonna be yanking the fuck out of this thing, and you're gonna hit yourself in the face. You're gonna knock your shit everywhere at con. I'm gonna laugh at you. Brandon's gonna be like, "You didn't listen to the video," so it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good. So this is the art bin. Comes with the marker holder, and we're just gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna like this, right? Top left. Now, why do I have them in this order? Because I found, for me, this is the easiest way to work. I got all the reds, I go into blues, yellows, purples, greens, some slight different teal-y blues, browns, flesh colors, tonals, and mustards, and a little bit of other browns. So this is the way I like to set it up. However you set it up, my advice would be just fucking leave it in that order, no matter what you do moving forward. Because
you want to train your brain to reach in the same area each time when you know what you're going for.
Yeah, you really do. You know, you want to spend more time, you know, focusing on your art and less time on, like, Brandon, when you were at con, how many times I see you reach into that fucking bag of yours and try to pull
I had a Ziploc baggie, and it was fucking hell. And, of course, every time I want to find a marker, I couldn't. Rob's asking me for a marker. I can't find it.
It's not good.
It's not good to be unorganized when it comes to art.
Especially if you got a little bit of weight and you're like digging through a Ziploc bag full of anything, it doesn't look good. It's not a good look for you. You know, like you have, and then you started to sweat because I'm staring at you while you're doing it. And that's the laugh you don't want to hear at con, by the way. That's the laugh of pain. So let's go right through this, okay? Starting from top left, right? We have an RV 55. I'm going to go ahead and grab a sketchbook here. This is my Airship notebook, sponsored by Airship. They actually gave me this thing for free, so I'll give them some props. Pretty cool notebook, doesn't bleed. So I'll show you what this looks like, RV55. It's like a hot pink, right? So I put this here because it's kind of like a neon pink. And then this one is RV09, number 2, RV09. I can show you what that looks like right there, which is a darker version of a hot pink. And these work together really well because you can halo around them. You get steps. Alcohol markers don't exactly blend 100%. They build up on top of one another, layers of alcohol. So when I see people trying to mix Copic markers perfectly, and they don't blend right, or they create that effect, they go,
Right.
oh, they don't fucking. So they keep adding more markers,
So it
more.
gets muddied up.
And all you got to do, folks, is let me show you, right, really quickly. I'll just put this right next to RV55, right? And let's say I wanted to create a blend. I'll just come right over here and grab, this looks good enough. Let's grab this. This is a color pencil, Faber-Castell, purple pink, middle purple pink. And come here and just blend those two together. Look at that. So, really easy. That's why I do that. You there, Brandon, or did you hit the mute on your mic?
I'm here.
Okay.
I was getting a drink.
Third marker, R20. This is blush. It's like a faint pink. Marker number 4, R22, light prawn. A more saturated pink. Same concept right there. Two contrasting pinks. Good for, the skin tones and stuff like that. Now, we get into the reds. Marker number 5, RV29. Brandon,
Yes.
do you have the marker list open from the Google Doc?
I can.
Yeah, I want you to open that up. I'm going to have
All
you
right.
read off so you can participate, not just breathe into the microphone.
That's always fun.
It's good times. I really enjoy that. The gasps of Brandon. Let's have you open that up. So, you can see even there, those are the different steps between the reds. They give you a lot of good choices. And something else you should remember, folks, with Copic markers, let them dry. Even if they dry for like 10 minutes, you're going to see that they're not muddy. Markers are inherently wet when they get laid down. They need to dry and sort of air out, and then they'll kind of fade into the paper, and then you can see how they actually look. You got the right list open?
I
Copic
believe so. What number are you on?
I'm on number 5, RV29.
RV29, yep.
All right, so what's next?
Number 6 should be R29.
R29. And we're going to paste this list also, folks, so you can get it. But I want to show R29 is more of a deep red. More of a deep red. It's a darker red. Next one?
R05.
Well, no, just call the numbers.
R05.
R05. This goes into a warmer orange, orangish red. So this is like orange added to red a little bit. This is more of a warm red, and RV29 would be like a cooler red. It's a big difference. I think of the difference between like Darth Vader's lightsaber would maybe more menacing, and maybe like the blasts. I don't know, like on a strawberry, might be a little warmer depending on how the sun hits it, So you want a warm red and a cool red. So that's the difference between those two.
Next we got YR09.
What number marker is it though?
Number 8.
Right. So call that out. Say number 8, YR09, right?
Bingo!
Yeah, we're doing it live, folks. Right? That's how we're doing it. So we'll do here Y. Now, something I want to tell you. This is a newer marker. I picked this up about a few weeks ago. Copics, now that they have a shortage, they've been trying to fill production, and they've been not doing the greatest job of that. And they said one of the reasons because they're Japanese, the company's Japanese owned, primarily, majority it's made in Japan, owned in Japan. They have standards, and they're having trouble with production facilities. I think I know why. These newer markers, Brandon showed me this, seem to fill up with ink at the tip sometimes and just blob out ink.
All over the page. Just
Yeah, I remember
droplets.
Brandon, you showed it to me.
Right.
And I had never seen that in 3 years.
You thought I was just pressing down too hard. You're like, you're just fat fingered.
because
I'm
I've been
like,
using my same markers for 3 years. I just had refills, you know.
right.
But when I was like, oh, I'll go buy a new marker, and then that's when I started to experience it. So what I've done is, until they fix this fucking problem that they won't admit, by the way, because I've tried to get them to admit it, if you see it's really wet, just keep a dry paper towel and do this. And you can see by my dry paper towel how many fucking times I've done this in the past day. Like, this is bad, folks. These are all new markers that are doing this. None of my old markers do this. So this is something they haven't wanted to own up to, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Copic conspiracy. So number 8 was YR09 Chinese orange. That's a real deep saturated orange. It actually complements YR04, which is a separate. So we're gonna go to YR04 and go backwards a little bit here, Brandon. So I'll pick up this line and then tell you when to go forward. How about that?
All right.
So right here we're gonna go YR04. And the reason why I want to show you this one next is because when you put it right next to YR09, you can see why. Now, YR04, look, it's looking a little muddy here, but something you should know about it is when you go faintly, see it gives you a nice gold color into yellow. You know, when you kind of use it faintly like that. And then when you layer it on top of, you know, you get more of a saturated deep orange. Look at that. So you get, in this thing, you're almost getting like 2 or 3 colors from one marker. It's what I call one of those magic markers. You get a lot from it. And then if you take that YR09, right, and you come into the saturated part, you can add that little oomph, right? Look at that. Now, these little, now if you notice where the YR09 hits the YR04, it doesn't blend perfectly. That's okay. You just let it dry a little bit, and then you grab yourself a color pencil, and you just blend the two together, folks. And they're magically smooth. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. So. Okay, so the next color we have is Y35. And then we're going to come right here. Y35 is like a golden yellow. It looks a little muddy here, but it'll dry. It's kind of like this tail end color that you get from YR04. A little more matted though. It's more of a matted color. I find it really good for things like sunflowers, or it's a good explanation, Brandon. Like,
I'm like, you don't put no fucking sunflowers in your art.
that's what I see when I'm coloring like Wolverine's. Like,
Well, there you go.
I have a
Your
little
colors of
girl.
Wolverine.
There's a little girl in my head who colors, right? She's also the one that's really likes pastries and shit, and I gotta be careful about that. But like, what would be like you know Wolverine's orange outfit, the orange and brown. That'd be really good on the orange and brown outfit.
Right.
Case in point. So, and then the next color we have is Y06, which is a bright yellow. That's like a lemony sunburst yellow. You know, and you can see even here as I lay them each out on the paper, these are strong steps. You know, a lot of these they're not 100% right next to one another. They're really, how do I say that? You know what I mean? Right? There's steps. They're not. They're incremental. No, how is that? They're not one color that's almost like the color next to it.
Right.
The reason why is if you just keep applying Copics on the paper, folks, you're just gonna keep. They're fucking expensive. So you can just wet the shit out of your page, you know, and like spend all this time adding a bunch of markers to your page that don't actually get you more color. They just saturate the paper with ink. So you want strong steps. That's what I'm saying. And then use your blends with color pencil. So the next color would be Y21, which is Buttercup, and Buttercup Yellow. And Buttercup Yellow, what would that be good for, Brandon?
Buttercup Yellow. Shit, I haven't even used that one yet.
You suck. Like,
I do
okay.
suck. It has a. I want to say like a gold for metal. It would be cool, but
No, you don't know what
colors
you're
off.
talking about. Brandon doesn't know what he's talking about, everybody. So Buttercup Yellow would be really good for like the underneath of a snake, like a matted yellow, you know, or like a giraffe. That would go really nice with like a giraffe thing, or if you want like a cream yellow. If you want like a creamy yellow, now this takes a little while to dry. It's matted. It's not a vibrant color. It's more of a matte color. So the next is Y00, which is Barium Yellow, which is the faintest yellow I use.
Could you use it for like blonde hair?
Yeah, you could. You could use it for blonde hair. I'd also think, like, it goes good with greens and light greens, you know, if you wanted to, like, halo things and stuff like that. It would also go good for, like, if you wanted to have a almost semi-transparent, like, part of, like, Wonder Woman's lasso, right? Goes from
Mm-hmm.
yellow to, like Y06 to Y00 would be a good
Good jump.
jump in color. So the next color we have is Process Blue B05. Now B05 is like your strong, you know, saturated blue.
You could use it like on the Fantastic Four outfits.
Superman's fucking.
Superman's.
It's an all-purpose. The Fantastic Four costumes, the classic. Spider-Man's
Yeah.
blue. I use this. This is one of the. I use this a lot, right, Brandon? Like this.
Oh
is,
yeah.
You know, even you yourself.
I used it on the Spider-Man sketch cover. I
Or
did.
you know, sometimes like when you're doing blacks, but then you have that blue halo, and that's why everyone thinks Superman has blue fucking hair.
Right.
You know, he doesn't have blue hair; he has black hair. But they use the blue as a halo effect. You
Right.
could use that right there. That'd be good for that. Next would be FBG2 fluorescent dull BG. I don't fucking know. What I do know is it's like a nice, vibrant light blue. I'd say this would be my dark, my medium, and then the next color B00 would be my light blue. So this fluorescent blue isn't really fluorescent. It just has that nice sky blue effect. Be a sky blue would be what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did this as Superman's body, you could do the FBG2 as a nice fluorescent. You know, like a halo around that. That's how I would do. I wouldn't do the fluorescent and then the frost, the B00. By the way, folks, that gets to be too much.
It's too close.
It's too close. It's too close. So, and now, Brandon, what's the next color we have?
B number 17 is B29.
B29, ultramarine. Now, ultramarine's down here because there's only so much fucking room in the box. So, it's a darker color. It's really the darkest blue I use. It's super, super dark. In watercolor terms, they call this a phthalo. PH, they spell it phthalo with the PH, by the way. Phthalo blue. These are also known as stainers. Really good for, like, if you were to have black in your image, you know, and it was next to a blue, you could use that to halo that black.
Right.
So,
Number 18 is BV04.
no, BV00. So, I'll just go off these, Brandon. So, Mauve Shadow, I changed. That's one of the ones I changed. So, next one's BV00, Mauve Shadow. Mauve Shadow is a light, faint purple. It's a light, faint purple. I use this in skin tones, like sort of the classic Capcom thing going on. Some of the skin tones. Like if you put this over like a peach color, you get a nice purple. It blends well with that. The next one would be BV04, which is blueberry. There's no blue in this. It's just a darker purple. Look at that. And these right next to one another, they contrast nicely. The next is a color you haven't used yet, right, Brandon? FV2.
V2? No, I have not.
This is fluorescent dull violet. It's another fluorescent color, and as you can see, it's super saturated on the tip because it's a newer marker. So this is a nice fluorescent purple. This is like your Joker purple.
Oh, okay.
You know? Like, you know, if you wanted that cool Joker with the lime green and the purple suit, you know? That's what I would use that for. The next one would be V17 Amethyst, which you have used. And that's a darker purple. Almost like a violet, but not quite. So that actually pairs nicely against the BV04. Or actually the BV00 and the V17 pair nicely together. The jump in contrast between those two. The next would be V15 Mallow, which I think is a new color for you.
Yeah, I haven't even heard of the name.
This is like a saturated light violet. Trying to think a good place to use that. It would halo the V17 really nicely, actually. If you wanted more color. If you wanted more of like a sinister, like if this was a girl They had a purple outfit. What female heroes have purple outfits? The Huntress, right?
Psylocke?
Did you say Cyclops when I asked you what a
No, I
girl?
said Psylocke.
I asked you what a girl was, and you said Cyclops.
Beast. No.
But the Huntress is purple, right?
Yep.
So the
Sure is.
Huntress would work good like this with the the V17 and the V15. But the Joker, I would use the V17 and the V00. Do you see the difference? Because you would want less saturated color in his outfit because he's more serious in a way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Why so serious? So the next color is V04. V0,
Lilac.
yeah, lilac. This is another magic color, right, Brandon?
Yep. This one, you know, it's cool because I've seen you use it and I've used it. You put it on other colors on top of it, and it'll change the original color and make some pretty unique stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you could use it in anything. It works. It pairs great with yellows, with blues, with greens, with flesh tones, with browns. You get other colors from it. It's pretty amazing. It's a pretty saturated purple. Like if I wanted to do Mace Windu's lightsaber, I would use V04. Just by itself, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I would do. You know, if I wanted a super like the Wonder Twins, super saturated purpley outfit, I would do that as well. But coincidentally speaking, if I wanted to add a nice shade to a yellow, I would use this as well because it works well with blending into other colors. Another magical color is V01, which is Heath, which is almost like a pink. It's a purpley pink, and actually is almost like the lighter version of V17. No, V15. Yeah, more of a lighter version of V15. Heath works really, really well on flesh tones. You want to add a nice purpley shade to flesh tones, V01 is your way to go. You'll see me say all the time, like, Heath is the fucking shit. And then you have a friend named Heath that looks just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Throws you off, right? So,
A little bit, especially when we're posting pictures.
yeah. So let's get into, we're in the middle section. Now we're at these rungs on the art bin where you really want to make sure, again, folks, these 4 markers here are chows if you're going to use this bin because this piece cuts into, you know, the container, so it's a pain. So we're going to go right here with the greens. We're going to start with BG93, which is like a military green. Really great for, let me go here. Really great for Ninja Turtles, really great for, what would you say, Brandon?
Any kind of army character, you know, a Guile from Street Fighter.
Guile. Yeah, Guile would be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like a really depressed Hulk.
Yeah.
Like the Hulk who just had to sit through like the Ang Lee movie a couple times.
That would make anybody sad.
Yeah. Remember when his greatest fight was with a bunch of poodles?
Mm-hmm. Just amped up doggies.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually put this over here so I can keep this in frame. Let me turn the page a little bit. So, there we go. So apparently this does bleed through, but not with the distress ink. Interesting. That's going into my review. So, now the next color is YG13. YG13 is like a nice mid-grade fluorescent green. Really good for like leaves or Joker's hair, you know?
Yeah.
If you wanted something that wasn't super saturated, like more of a, like what? Like the animated hair? I don't know. Like he wasn't super lime green in the old school.
It just depends on which one you want. But yeah, it'd be a cool color to lay down as the main color if it's you want to go real like bright with it, and then throw down some darker.
Blink from X-Men works good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a good one. The next one is FYG2. FYG2 is a fluorescent green, and what's crazy is it's actually dark. Isn't that crazy? How that works out. So that is really good for like I'd say the main tone of like the Joker's hair, and then I would halo it probably with this next color. I'm going to show you YG01. YG01 is a nice bright limey green. A lot of yellow in there. It's not matte. The YG13 Chartreuse is more of like the matte version of YG01. But FYG2 and YG01, those two go together really nicely. If you want to do something more matte like the Hulk, I would do the YG13 and the FYG2. So let's move on to the next color, FYG1, which is a neon yellowish green. It's about the brightest yellowish green thing. I mean, it's pretty bright. That would halo really nicely against the FYG2 as well, by the way. So, and then you may do a little mid-tone with the YG01 or grab some color pencils. So, I don't use this fluorescent yellow as much, but I found it works really nice if you were going to do like a magical effect or... I wouldn't
The
use that on
background.
maybe, yeah. So, it's one of those ones that comes up every now and then. I kind of don't need it as much because I use my color pencils for a lot of that. But I have found that I needed it a couple times. I want to say recently there was one. I think it was that. Oh, it was that Stay Puft Marshmallow thing that you did.
Yeah, I
That
didn't
you-
want to bring that up.
Yeah, that fucking one.
I knew you.
You
used
knew
it.
you were.
I
You
just
knew
wanted to
I
say
would.
it.
You're like, you
I
wouldn't,
didn't-
and you wouldn't tell me. You fucking bastard.
Nope.
Yeah, that's
Throw
where I
myself
used it.
under the bus.
That's where I used it.
Yep.
Brandon, my memory is really good. I eat a lot of
You-
probiotics.
Yeah, he used it as like the glow on the bottom, and
So our next color is BG15 Aqua, and this is like a saturated teal color. And I'm going to just go through these next three and we can talk about them. Next one's BG34 Horizon Green, which is a complement to that, which is like a mid-tone teal. And then the next one is G00, which is the lighter version of that. Now these three are really great for like ethereal colors. G00, BG34, and BG15. These are really great for ethereal colors. I just used them to great lengths on this Voldemort you can see here. You know, so if you want to do like a zombie face or a snake or, you know, I don't know.
some kind of reptilian type character,
Or even, there has to be some,
a decaying character.
yeah, I mean, or even like a fairy, like a, you know, maybe a dark fairy or,
A mermaid.
oh, fuck you, man. Like Beetlejuice or, I don't know, man. Like there's about a million of them. You know, my mind's a little blank right now. But really good ethereal colors. They work great for monsters and shit like that. Maybe even like marine life, like sharks and fish. I think it'd go really good with, you know. Folks, by the way, if you're wondering how to like color monsters, just go look at fish and sharks and shit, you know. So the next color is BG49, which is a deep saturated teal. So it's like the darker version of BG15, which I can show you right there. So if you wanted to add like a dark shadow, add color into it, that'd be the way to go with that. BG49. The next color is BG91, which is a light gray, kind of purpley blue. These are really good for steel and metal. BG95 would be its complement. And you can see how those two, you know, contrast against one another. Some people like to use the cool grays for metal. I tend to like to use the blues, actually. A B91, a B95, and the B00 work really nice for like blades and swords and even like iron, a war machine and shit like that. It would work nice. So now the next color is G02. We're back into some greens. This is what I call my Bowser green, right, Brandon? Like Bowser from Super Mario Brothers. It's a cooler green. Go
It's
ahead.
got a good animated look to it. I like it.
Yeah, when I mean cool, I mean it has like blue in it. It's not like just because it's fucking awesome.
Right.
So, and then the next would be G17, which is a saturated phthalo kind of green, and
I
that'd
like
be
that
a
one
good,
a lot.
yeah, that's a good shadow for just anything green. You know,
I use it on the turtle sketch covers, you know, for the darker shade.
yeah, turtles, Hulk would go well. Name a green character.
Killer Croc.
If you wanted to do an animated one, I'd probably use more of these olive colors, like YG93, which is next, which is more of like an olive. That would go really nice with the military colors. Next is G21, lime green. And I would say YG63, G21, and way over here, BG93, those three really work together nicely. for camos and shit like that. So the next color we have, what are you doing, Brandon?
I'm looking at my markers as well.
Yeah, don't do that. So the next color is RV69, which is a dark red, burgundy red wine. I'd say, Brandon, like a red
Yep.
wine.
Like
Red.
like a red wine is perfect description.
Would go good in the shade for a red. Like if you did Magneto, like if you did him right. if you if you drew and colored Magneto,
Highbrow here.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, you know, you could use RB29 for his main color, and then use the RV69 as the shade.
You could use it on some darker browns too, right? Just to add a little bit of that red.
Yeah,
tint
it would
to
go really good into browns as well. You know, so like Chewbacca, like it would
Mm-hmm.
go good in like Chewbacca fur,
I added it on the pads for the Ninja Turtles and some of the darker areas.
maybe Squirrel Girl, right? If you were to draw her. So the next color is E09, which is like a, I want to say it's like a burnt sienna or burnt umber. It says burnt sienna, but it's more like a burnt umber, really. It's a little
So
darker.
So you're going. Now you're going to okay.
Yeah, E09. I work my way down like a snake.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're snaking it there.
Yes, I snake it. So it's easier when you see the visual, Brandon. So the next would be YR14, which I think is more like a burnt sienna, in terms of. So between these two, you can get a lot of tonal things between YR14 caramel and E09 burnt sienna. I just like if you were painting rocks and dirt or even the rusted hull of a ship or something, these colors work really nice. Caramels are really nice. You get a lot of colors from that too. It's got a nice saturation to it. So it goes good in like hair, like if you wanted to have some like nice auburn hair or the highlights to brown hair, that would go really good around there. So the next color is E35, which is like a nice brown, sort of a medium brown. I want to say like a chocolate mocha. Mocha? No, it's a little like that. Cocoa, like a cocoa brown.
Yeah.
Cocoa brown. And then the next would be E25, which is Carib cocoa. So this is more like a cocoa. So E35 and E25. Now here's what's weird. E35 is lighter than E25. I don't fucking know how they number these things, guys. It don't make any sense to me. But I would use E35 for like Chewbacca's hair primarily.
And just for people who are following along, when Rob posts his list with the numbers, they will be a little different. One or two will be switched around.
No, I'll fix it. It'll be 100% this list. I'll just fix it tonight.
My list is off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll fix the list. No, when I hit OK, folks, the entire list will be in the comments below, so don't worry about that.
So only me will.
Shut up, Brandon. You'll have the fucking list. So I'm going right to your house in a day to make certain you're caught up. So the next color is E31, which is brick beige, and brick beige is like a nice faint brown that's non-saturated.
Would you use it to darken a skin tone, like on?
Yeah, good. Works really good on skin tones. Like if you want a little gruff to like Wolverine's face, like
Like a
you
5
do
o'clock
that.
shadow.
Yeah, it did good 5 o'clock shadow. Like when you shave your head, Brandon, you
Mm-hmm.
do that, and you don't, and it kind of grows back like that.
Sometimes.
Now, these next three colors are my primary flesh tone colors. These three you see right here. So I'm going to start with YR02, which is super saturated. YR00, which is a mid-tone. And then the faintest skin tone I use is E00. Now, if you want to see how to use these in combinations for skin tones, in the art tips, there's a skin tones. There's two of them where I mess around with skin tones. You can see how to use these in various combinations with R22 and R20 to create 4 or 5 different skin tone combinations, including E31. You understand what I'm talking about with that, right, Brandon?
Yep.
Like you can even see here as it dries, that YR02 gives you that nice saturated anime kind of like skin tone coloration. So between those three colors, I'm able to get all the primary Caucasian colors, and then with the E25 and the E35 and the E31 and a few others, I can get that skin tone videos, folks. It's using these colors, so you'll be good to go. So almost there, folks. E41. This is called Pearl White. Now, I was coloring a Star Fox piece about a year and a half ago, and I was trying to figure out his fur, and for the fucking life of me, if you were here on that, the stream is up. Just search for Star Fox, and you watch me color that thing. You're gonna hear me throwing shit. I threw away paper, couldn't figure it out. So I figured out how to do fur, animal fur, and I'll show you how to do it. It's E41, E42, and I'm just gonna put down the next color, E43. These are what I would use for furs, for animal fur of any kind, like, or off-white, if you want to do like an off-white, like in Rogue's hair and you got that little white strip in her hair, you want to halo it a little bit, I would use the E41. I have done mass experimentations with Copics, folks. I've tried to see if I could get rid of one of those colors or flip it with a 4-4 or jump around. So these three I think are must have colors you don't use all the time. like you won't need them, and then when you do, nothing else will do. Like you're gonna be like, fuck, I wish I had those colors. So that's Star Fox. Go back and watch that one, folks. You want to see. Now, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors are W. These are warm grays. It's warm 1, warm 3, warm 5, warm 7, and warm 10. So I like to go odds, and then I can jump right up to the 10. The reason why I don't have a black in here is because I use my 100% solid blacks. Either I use regular ink or a color pencil for the black. The Copic black marker is a nightmare. Like, I don't know if you've ever, Brandon, you've used it, right?
Yep.
It leaves this residue that will come right up off your hand and then stick back down on your drawing.
And then it's mirror.
So we don't, with the W10 or even a C10, you can once it dries, it's a little matte. So you still have room to add more blacks with the color pencil or with a marker, actual ink like Sharpie or Castell. So W1, W3, W5. I'll show you their little. There's W1, W3, W5, W7. And W10. So see how they step across from one another? They're not. There's a nice jump between. I rarely use the 1, by the way. So that's just there as a backup. Like, I cut that out and then I had to use it once. I'm like, fuck, it goes back in. So the C1 and the W1 are there, but I don't use them as much. I use the W7, W5, and the W10 a lot, to be honest. So. But you can see, too, how they're different from the E41, E42, E43. These are more in the brown spectrum, and the grays are definitely in the gray section, less saturation. So, the next 3 are YG95. These are what I call my mustard colors. So it's YG95. The next one's YG91, Putty. We're going to talk about these in a second. Let me just put these down on the paper.
Putty.
Putty, that's a magical color. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Y26. These are my mustard kind of colors. And let's talk about it. So the YG95 is like a saturated camo green. It has like yellow in it. I actually used it here on the Voldemort in his clothes. Got that nice snakish coloration going on in here. So got some nice saturation in there. YG91 Putty, that's a magical color. You put that over yellows. You could put it over purples. You're going to get 800 different variations of that. It throws off metal. Like if you did the metal sword and you want to have a little bit of like a bronzing, or some kind of like off, like, they call that, what's that, Brandon, when they, when they shift the focus, obscure camera. When they obscure the lens so it's a little off. You can use the putty to do that. So it's pretty magical. You've used it before, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I like it. I mean, I've used it on metals. I've used it. I don't know on what, but I know I've used it. It's like the lilac. It just has that. It just changes when you mix it with
VO1, VO4, YG91, and I'd say
YR04. They're pretty much.
YR04. Those are some of the magic colors, folks.
Yeah.
You can get multiple uses from those really easily. Some of these just work better than others. And then Y26 Mustard, that's really good for like, brass, copper, really saturated coppery tones.
I used it on the Batman's belt.
Yeah,
When it
Batman's
goes across the
utility
chest.
belt. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
If you were drawing the Capullo bat, it wouldn't work so well for that
No.
outline, but don't do it for that. But I was just name dropping that because Brandon hates that costume. So let's go. Finally, the C. Then we have C1. I'm gonna put that right here. C1, C3, C5, C7, and C10. And those are, again, cool grays. Really great for anything that needs to be cool and non-saturated. So, non-living things. If I were to add shadows on people, I'd use warm grays. And if I wanted to add shadows on armor or, lifeless suits and stuff, I use the cool grays. Or even maybe backgrounds or vice versa, right?
Right.
So
I used it on. I'm going to use it on the War Machine, and I used it on the Batman v Superman armored outfit, all the C's. So.
Yeah. And that's it, folks. That's 64 colors right there. So, do you have any questions about this, Brandon, or any comments about?
I think that your list is pretty. Comments wise, your list is pretty accurate. I mean, we've gone through so many markers. I mean, I have so many bullshit ones that I've bought that just never worked out or didn't come close, or I try to replicate the ones you have, and you have a pretty definite set that works well with everything you made. And I mean, people see your art, so they know you're not just like bullshitting. You know your colors, and you know your colors well. I think that comes too with you spending years of doing T-shirt designs. You know what colors look good with what colors. So, not to kiss your ass, it's a good list of colors. So,
Well, I think you make a good point there. I didn't really think about that, but I have worked in T-shirts for a long time, and when you go to silk screening, there's only so many colors you can use. Like you can add all the glows that Photoshop can give you all you want. You can't print that shit on a shirt. That actually has to become a mesh, and you have to pick a Pantone. So could I increase this to 128 colors? Certainly. Could I increase this to 256 colors? Certainly. I've seen the artists with walls of Copics.
yeah.
Right? That being said, don't need to. And I want one bucket of Copics. This bucket's great. It has a lid. I got it underneath. Check this out. I keep the lid underneath this thing. It plops right on. You connect it, and then you latch down, and this thing comes with you wherever you want to go. And then when I come home, I take it off, and I put it right underneath this thing. And that's it. That's all I need. And this, in conjunction with these color pencils. These are Faber-Castell. Honestly, folks, these Faber-Castells, the only trick to this is I just got did we get the 48 set or the 36 set?
36.
We got the 38, we got the 36 basic Faber-Castell Polychromos set. I added a couple colors, which are a couple different reds and some greens that you see here, some teals, some greens, so and then some extra brown colors. That's it. And between this 30, I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 50. About 50 color pencils, and these don't need much more. Really don't. Like, I use the Distress inks for backgrounds and these things, and this is how you end up with this kind of stuff, I think getting a little creative too helps. When you're like, oh man, how do I get two kinds of, I want his cloth to be dark green, like a serpentine, but then I also want him to have like that olive green color. How do I get that way? How do I get those colors? Well, they can all be done with this. And And as you'll see me moving forward, I won't deviate from this. Maybe every now and then I'll be like, hey, that FYG1, I don't use it much. Maybe I flip that out for something down the way, or the Y00, I don't use that much. Maybe I flip that out down the way. But that being said, you can reproduce anything I do with these colors, period. End of story. It's taken me 3 years to figure this out. And I only made this video now because I'm 1,000% certain of it, you know? So, Brandon, I'm going to be at your house this weekend. I got to color something. I'm going to be using your markers,
Yay.
you know? So you can't tell me they don't work and you didn't get to do it because I had the special superpower markers and you didn't have the special superpower markers and your markers were weak sauce. So that's it. Folks, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I will answer them. I'm going to paste the list here as soon as this gets done processing so you can just copy these markers down, go get them yourself. My advice would be get as many of these as the chows as you can. Save yourself a few bucks. Slowly build up your refills as you need them. You know, I would say this is what? How many? This is about $400 worth of markers right here.
Yeah.
And that's about another $400 worth of. So this is about $800, $900 worth of material, folks. Do you need to spend more than that?
No.
Do you? You know, like
I spent a lot of money on ones that just end up thrown away.
Right,
I mean,
and
I throw them in a box, but you know.
And by the way, folks, if you're not making any money with markers at all, don't get all 64 colors.
Right.
You know, sell commissions and buy a marker as you need them. You know,
Right.
My advice, because like I said, it's taken me 3 years to kind of work this out, and I've probably thrown away about another $300 worth of markers. You know, that being said, I bought a majority of these refills 3 years ago. I'd say only less than a dozen I've had to refill since then. They last an incredibly long time. You know, if you're not like shoving your fucking marker down on the page, you know, using up a bunch of ink, like brush lightly, you know. But you can make these last an awful long time, folks. Like I've had this process blue in here since 2013. This is one of the first ones I ever got. You know, same with the V01. That's one of the first ones I ever got. You can see how it's just hellish. It's covered in fucking spittle and just refill. It's disgusting. I'm a filthy slob. All right, you have any questions, Brandon?
Nope.
All right, that's it, folks. We'll see you real quick soon. I got stuff to do tonight, so I'll be back on here in a hot minute to work on something. So I'll see you in a minute. Peace.
Bye-bye.
$64 colors. That's all you need.